everybody. My name is Jennifer Posie, and I am the owner and artist of the Purple Posie, and I am out of West Texas. Today I'm going to show you guys a super simple painting blending technique on this buffet behind me. Just two colors, a couple paint brushes, and some water, and you're golden. That's all you need. I want to thank Jennifer Allwood for the opportunity to do this for you guys. Super exciting for me. So what I'm going to be using today is I'm using Dixie Belle paint in Palmetto and Mint Julep. Any two colors that you want to use obviously is going to be okay. I've done this with a blue and a white. I've done it with a blue and a mint green, and I've done it with just a purple and then a light purple. So any two colors, just a couple shades lighter than the darker color, should work just fine. I've already got a base coat of the Palmetto on here, and so it's ready to go. All we have to do is do that second coat, and I can show you what we're doing, and we're done. Should not take very long at all. The supplies, obviously you're going to need some water. I have a fine mist sprayer that I love to use, so that's what I've got. I always have paper towels handy. The brushes, you're going to need kind of a bigger type brush if you've got a bigger piece. I personally am going to be using this dusty brush here from Paint Pixie, and both of these. You'll need a smaller brush for the smaller areas and a larger brush for the kind of the bigger drawers. So we'll go ahead and get started. So we're just going to go back in with the base coat and start our blending that way. We'll bring you guys in as close as I possibly can. Without breaking my tripod here. Can't see that. All right. So go ahead and get this one ready to go. All right. So all I'm gonna do is just lightly mist. Start going in with that base color here. This particular piece is a custom that I'm doing, and it just so happens that they wanted it in the technique that Jennifer suggested that I do in here, so it kind of worked out perfectly. And it's also got a little distressing in it, so I'm not too picky about the coverage. You know, in the little nooks and crannies and stuff. So there's that, and we'll just go a section at a time. So once you get a good portion of your base coat back on, you're gonna go in with your lighter color while the paint is still wet, and you literally just need a tiny, tiny bit on your brush. So you don't get the colors too muddled. So just go in and start blending this way. Just soft side to side. A little bit more. Literally just barely any paint on the paintbrush. And you can see how it just kind of, it almost makes it look like the light is shining on the drawer, with that center part being lighter. Now if you get your edges too, I mean, I like the way this looks, but if you get your edges too, you know, they're not even and you don't like it, or they're too rough and not blended enough, you just go back in with your darker color and kind of smooth that out a little bit. You just see that? I just got some paint in my hair. It's all good. Super simple, super easy. Oh, there's a reflection, isn't there? Let's see if I can see that a little bit better. Does that look a little bit better? Okay. And we'll go into the next section. I'll actually leave y'all close so you can see that. So with this blending, a lot of people, I mean, it's basic to some people don't know how to blend, and that's totally fine. But with this blending technique, since there's so many colors, or I'm sorry, so many layers, if you get your paint on and you don't like the way it looks, or you can't get your blending just right, you can grab a sanding block, maybe like a 220 to 300, somewhere in that range. Nothing too harsh, and you just lightly, once it's dry, kind of go over it a little bit, and that will help blend some of those lines together. Just move, y'all. This technique can easily be done, since I'm just really doing it on the face of the drawers, it can easily be done if you take the drawers out and just do them one by one. That's not a big deal because it's not, you know, a cohesive blending across the entire piece. So that may be easier for some people to do, is just set it on their lap and do it this way. So it's really however you prefer, whichever is more comfortable for you. To sand a little bit around the knobs so the wood grain is a little bit different than the rest of the drawer here. So I'm just trying to make sure I get good coverage. Go back in, literally this much, like barely any on here. And you don't have to press real hard, just lightly hold the paintbrush over the paint, or swipe it over the paint, or over the drawer, I'm sorry. Not a whole lot of pressure is needed. If you press too hard, some of the wood grain or the paint will pull it, which is fine if that's what you're looking for. And actually, it would be okay for me on this piece because we are going for a little bit of a distressed look, so that would be okay for me. I would not have a problem with that at all. So you want the center of your drawer to be the lightest. So that's where you start and then go this way and blend outward. What you can also do is have another larger type brush available to you that's dry, and go, once it's kind of set up just a little bit, you can go back over it really lightly, and that will actually help blend in the edges as well. It helps blend it in really, really nicely. Just a dry brush. This is probably my most popular, I guess, painting technique. It's super simple, but everybody wants me to do this. I do a lot of customs, and everybody wants me to do this. They always refer to my blue buffet that I've done, and it's just like the easiest technique to do. It's pretty cool. So I really will not take much of your time because it goes so fast. And like I said, it's just two colors. I'm not being super picky about whether or not any wood shows in areas, because that is the look I'm going for. If not, you can do what you need to do on your piece. Okay. And instead of dipping my brush into the actual paint can, just to be sure I don't get too much, I just use my lid and just tap it in there, and that's usually pretty good. You want to be sure and just not, stop, but as you're doing this and going side to side, kind of pick up when you get to the sides. That way you don't have the super sharp edges in your blending. And I actually hold my brush kind of towards the end, and I almost smush it a little bit to where it's like this. So it's not so much round. That helps me a little bit. I also do not care if this is like super matchy-matchy. If that bothers you, it might actually be easier to pull the drawers out and set them side by side and do them just like that to match them as closely as you can. But for me, I don't really want them to be matchy-matchy. So this is good with me. Obviously, if you want a more dramatic center, you could just use white. I don't know if I said that or not. I think in the piece that is posted in here for this technique, I did actually use a blue and white. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to get down on the floor. So I'm gonna tilt this down a little bit, and I may have to lose the boots. Sorry about that. Okay. I have everything down here. Yeah, I need that. Okay. And I cannot get my tripod to go any lower, so I have to like shoot down. I hope it's okay. I hope everybody can see okay. The light keeps changing as I move. It's so weird. Okay, now this is a larger surface, and if you want to, and if you have them, you can actually do the same thing up here with the same brush. If you can use these Detsy brushes or something similar, it will actually go a lot easier for you to blend the centers this way. So I will probably do one drawer with the dusty and one drawer without. Just so you can see the difference. There really is any, but just how quickly it is. The sides of this piece are actually already done, simply because it is really just a repeat of the front, and I will show you pictures of the side. It's just, I treat the side like a big drawer, and it's the same thing on the sides. She's actually wanting a black top on here, and it's just a solid black. So I won't show y'all how to paint that because I mean it's just a solid color. And I was going to wax the piece, but in getting it ready last night, I noticed this piece is was talking with the owner. She said she's 70 years old and she knows for sure her grandma had it when she was a little girl. So it could very well have been her great-grandmother, so it's a very old piece. And the drawers are rubbing and they are, you know, everything's kind of wiggly, and my husband got it as sturdy as he could, the frame of the dresser, but it's still it's a little wobbly when you take the drawers out. So instead of waxing, I think I'm probably gonna go in with a General Finishes top coat, the high endurance top coat, just to kind of try to alleviate some of the fast rubbing of the paint off of the bottom of the frame here. That's all I can think of. Because I'm not going to do any shading. The other piece that is shown in here, it has actually white wax in the center of it, just to accentuate the blending and the color contrast. But I'm not going to be using any shading or anything like that on this piece. So, like I said, I'm just going to General Finishes high endurance top coat and call it good. Okay. Paint's getting a little dry, so I'm just trying to make sure. I had to sand around all of where the knobs were because they were glued on as well as screwed on, so it's kind of yucky under them. So I'm just trying to make sure I got good coverage. Okay. So on this drawer, I'll use the Dusty for my blending. And it's the same, it's the same thing, like barely any on the brush. If I can get it on there. Just a little tiny bit. Make sure your paint's good and wet. And just start in the center, go down, and then go over, and spread all that out. See here, like you can see, I did not pick up, I don't know if you can see that, I did not pick up my paintbrush in time. I'll bring you in closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Maybe. Maybe not. Right there. You can see I didn't pick up my paintbrush in time. But that's easily, you can fix that real easy. Really easy. Take your base color brush and just swipe in. Swipe in. And get rid of that. So I am out of Texas. It's I'm actually recording this on Valentine's Day. So mid-February. And it's 85 degrees here today. It is super hot. I think that's why my paint is drying. It's not super hot, but I think that's why my paint's drying so fast. Okay. Now I think there is a glare on my end. I hope it's not on your end too. I'm just coming back in. out some of these lines a little bit. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this side right here. And at the end when I'm done, I'll do a little bit of dry brushing on the sides here. Just to kind of tie everything in just a little bit. And mainly focus on the curves that are out, or you know, that pop out of the piece a little bit. I keep thinking I'm on a live and I want to turn around and say, can y'all hear me okay? I can get kind of quiet sometimes, but I don't have those fancy earphones yet. But the microphone, I need to get on. I've been meaning to get online and order them all week, and I haven't. So I'm going to do this other piece real quick. This is the second time I've used Dixie Belle paint. Any mineral-based paint that you want to use will work just fine. I've done this technique mostly using DIY paint, which is a clay-based paint. So any mineral type paint that can be reactivated with water will work just fine for this technique. Obviously you can't use oil-based paints. Oil and water, a good combo. So I'm just doing the insides just real quick, so I can move on to the next. And I don't want to mess up my blending coming back and doing those insides. I hope I'm not blocking. Looks great to me. Okay, so we'll go in and get our second coat here. This might be, I have not watched any of the tutorials in here. This might be the shortest one you have, or it might be the longest, I don't know. I'm hoping this isn't too basic for everybody in here. But if Jennifer Allwood says that she loves that technique and she wants you to teach it, by golly, you teach it. That's the way I look at it. We probably will be done in about 10 minutes, and we're only 23 minutes in. Again, I'm just making sure I have a really good base coat on here. This drawer I actually could not find. She wanted new hardware, and I could not find hardware that fit. It was a really, really odd measurement. So I could not find any hardware that fit that, so we are starting fresh. So I can see over here where I had to wood putty and then sand to make everything smooth. And so the wood finish it looks a little bit different under that first coat, and some of it is a little bit harder to cover. Not harder to cover, but it shows through a little bit easier. right, on this drawer, I'll go ahead and use just a round brush, which you'll be able to see just, I mean, it does exactly the same thing. And it may be easier for some people to use the round brush to do the blending, and it may not be. You know, it just depends on the person, but I personally love large flat surfaces, the flatter brushes, but again, just very little. Start in the center. Need some more down here. Just a tad bit more. Should have probably turned my ceiling fan down. That probably is not helping with my paint drying situation here. Can't complain too much. For the first 7 months that I've been, you know, I was painting in a garage, and when we moved into our new house, I got my own studio, and I have a ceiling fan and AC, which is awesome. So I don't like how far up that went, so I'm just going in with my base coat brush and adding just a little bit more of that base coat back in. It essentially does the exact same thing. It's just a preference on what brush you use. But for large surfaces, I prefer a flat brush. And even now, I'm still smushing it a little bit. I am really happy with that. Really happy with that. So let me finish adding the second coat here and here, and then we'll do some dry brushing, and then that is it, guys. Like, that is it. Super fast and easy. I feel like I should be talking nonstop, but I don't know. I don't know what to talk about. Are you sick of me saying the same thing over and over again? This is such a pretty color. This is my very first time to ever paint anything green, and I honestly did not think I would like the way it turned out, but I love this color. It's so pretty. I may have to start painting more green stuff. Let's see. Just about done, guys. Oh, I was trying not to get these wheels, and I sure did get them. Okay. All right, so now I think the last little bit that I want to do is add a little bit of this mint julep, probably here and here, and maybe dry brush some on these little these thingies, and then we will be good. So I'm taking the little brush that I was using for the little drawers. The paint has dried out just a little bit, so I'm just spraying some water on it. I'm just going to mush it around in a paper towel, which will help soften it up and to get some of that base color palmetto off that has rubbed on at the same time. Okay, so this is still a little wet. We'll come in here. Like, this is just gonna need just barely any of it. Smooth back out. Like that. And then same for the bottom, just barely any. It's a little bit trickier because it's got that curve to it. Good. I said dry brushing, and that's not what I'm doing. I'm not dry brushing at all. So here, okay, so this is too much. Too much. Which is okay. It's just paint. It's just paint. I gotta stand back and look just a second. This is pretty much dry already. I'm gonna wait for this to dry and see what it looks like. On the camera it looks really odd. It's not what it looks like to the naked eye. But I'm gonna let it dry and see what it does. So I got a little too much on there. Go this way. I forgot to grab my little rolly cart that I bring with me to have everything on. It's way over there. We're almost done. Okay. You can, a little bit. My little bit turned out to be a lot of it. It was a lot of it. No biggie. I'll here. It's hard, like I have to completely turn my entire body. Okay. I'm not even dipping, I'm not even re-dipping this base color brush to smooth it out. I'm just, like you just saw, I just wet it a little bit with my water bottle, because I just need a tiny, tiny bit of that paint, or that color, just like the smallest bit. I think, guys, that's it. That is it. That is all she wrote. Such a simple, simple technique. I'll bring you guys in closer. I can't flip it after I start, I forgot. Okay, so this is pretty much dry up here. I mean, it is dry. So you can see it's not matchy-matchy. I love that. It's fine with me. And here's all the way across there. And then if we stand back here and not get the tripod in the way, this is hard to do. You can see kind of the overall picture there. And on the side, like I said, it's the same thing. I don't know if you can see, it might be dark. Just one big drawer with that in the center. And I actually let some wood peek through here. It was pulling a little bit and I liked it, so I left it. So, that's it, guys. Super easy, super simple. Thanks for watching, and again, I want to thank Jennifer Allwood and her team for inviting me to do this. This is super fun, and yeah, so thank you guys very much. I guess if you have any questions, I think I'll be available in the group to answer them. I'm not sure for how long, but I'll be in the group to answer them. And one more time, here's the entire piece. Boom. And you know what? You probably could even put some of that, I can't see what I'm doing, some of that lighter color here too. You probably could. All right, guys. Thanks again for watching. Again, my name is Jennifer Posie, and I'm with the Purple Posie. A lot of people call me JPO. So if you've seen JPO, that's me. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something. And I'm signing off.